you're a face that has been seen in so many different places since Empire. I was on Stars, seeing you on Black Mafia Family, scrolling on Netflix, you popping up with Kevin Hart on True Story. But of course, most people know you from Empire. I feel like one of the hardest things after getting your first big break is like breaking from the perception of that role. What do you feel like Rebel is providing to people in regards to your acting repertoire?
Nice to meet you too. Thank you. And yes, exactly that. It's really important for me to comb through roles, auditions, and things to help the trajectory of, you know, prolonging my career and into moving into the direction I want to. And yeah, being on a show for 6 years, playing one character, you kind of get stuck in that zone. But it's great. I am, you know, happy that people see me like, oh, I know she can do this. But to be able to stretch my instrument is like the most important thing. So with being Rebel, there's a certain grittiness to her, and there's a certain realness and life that she's gone through that I'm able to connect to on a real level. And now I'm able to show certain emotions, you know, through the writing, the amazing writing and the show. I'm excited for people to see a different side of me for sure.
Yeah, so that's interesting too. I think you saying that you kind of have an idea of what direction you want to go into, because of course this is a good problem to have, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, 5 or 6 years of a good
right.
check, yeah,
right.
You know, box. It's a good situation. But what do you kind of want to show people that you have, or like where do you want to go from all of this?
Just unexpected things, like being able to dig into a character and be stripped down. You know, the character I did play, Tiana, she was a pop star, so she was always glamorized and things like that, and it was really fun playing dress up with Tiana. I love her forever. But you know, to be able to strip down and show raw emotions about things that are happening, like in this show, I don't want to give too much away, but she loses a person that's close to her, and she's going through all of this stuff. She's a stripper, and there's just raw emotion there that I'm able to dig into to show a different side of my instrument. And also it's fun to have layers to play with, and that's big ups to the writing too, because you can really dig into the character and find more that's there. So that's most important for me right now. But as far as other roles, I love action. I love like superhero films and things like that. So that's something that's a goal of mine as well.
So yeah, that's the cool thing about your character Rebel. It's you know, your lead actress or in this show, and of course you get more backstory, you get more depth. But I also ask more of you in this role. Like, is that the most challenging thing, the range of emotions? Because there's a lot going on.
It is. That was the challenging. Honestly, the most challenging thing was the shooting schedule.
For sure. I like the honesty. There we go.
The most challenging was the shooting schedule. This is my first time, like you said, being a lead of a show. So it was very demanding. I was very tired, and stretching sometimes emotionally from days on end is exhausting. And so, but it did allow me to really dig into the character and what she needed and who she was. So it kind of like, it's kind of a weird thing where the day that I'm having and the scene kind of correlate and it just works out. So that's kind of what happened. And it was kind of like divine in that way. But yeah, it's definitely, it's demanding, and it's, you know, it takes a lot out of you, but I would have it no other way, because I've been dying to be able to dig into a character and show depth.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And we want honesty here, so I appreciate that. Kind of moving on from your character Rebel, which, I mean, if you guys, once you guys watch this, you'll see how great of a job you did. But you've done so many, I'm a creative, so I love people who are expressing themselves through many different types of storytelling or creativity. So you're a musician, you're a model, a whole wide range of things. things. Which form of storytelling is the most challenging for you?
Ooh, I would say, I would probably say acting, probably.
Okay. Yeah.
Only because it's a good challenge. And I'm super competitive. So I'm always like, I'm down to figure it out. But that's also what I love about it. It's not just acting is not surface. There's so many levels. There's so many different ways you can play something. There's so many different ways you can perceive it or show it. And that's what makes it so exciting to me is no day is the same. No scene is the same. No relationship with the character is the same. And it keeps me on my toes. It really does. But that's what I love about it. That's what keeps me excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of turning into someone else while a bunch of people on set are staring at you, I would imagine that it's pretty challenging. Yeah. So I was watching a couple of some of your interviews, and one thing that kind of was interesting to me was you were, I think, during this interview run, feeling a little bit misunderstood as a person. Like it was a conversation you had where people were surprised to find out that you were homeless before you got Empire, and that you just felt like people didn't understand that you had a story before this moment. You didn't just kind of come out of thin air. You know what I mean? Is that something that you still feel is part of something that you're trying to rewrite?
It's something that, I mean, it's my story, right? And so it's something that I'm telling, and like you said, like you've seen it. I mean, I'm sure some other people have seen it, which is awesome. But it's so important for me to tell that story and to kind of like have a testimony in a way, because I don't want people to think, a lot of people look up to me and I don't want them to think that it was overnight, just by chance, it was an accident and something just happened and all of a sudden, so it's important for me to keep that that testimony there and relevant, because I don't want people that look up to me or just people, surrounding people that to think that there wasn't a lot of hard work and there wasn't a lot of nights, like you said, like going through that in my childhood. And so there is depth there, but that's also why I love this character, is that I'm able to connect with her on different levels similar to my life. And it's very a weird thing, because I'm not a stripper, but never been one. but it's those emotions that I tap into in this show, and I haven't done it before on screen, and so I'm excited for people to see that and to know the backstory behind it.
Are there aspects that you could share without spoiling everything that you feel like you do personally connect with?
I connect with her. She has like a sense of loss, a sense of confusion sometimes with faith. And I think she also is, there are people in my family that I kind of pull from as well, as far as kind of, how do I put it? Being a certain way because of the things they've been through.
Yeah.
And knowing that is why, and knowing that every reaction that a person gives to whatever situation is based upon who they are and what they've been through. And so I pulled some of that for her, because she's going to be snappy. She's going to be quick, and she's going to say what she has to say, because I have to make every day like work. Like, I need a place to stay, I need my money, and I need it now. So that's her. That's how she is. And I totally, I get that, because that's like some of my family, like, you know what I mean? And so there's things like that that's about her that just hit home for me.
I love that. I lost the question. You said something so interesting, but I guess I'll move on. Darn it. So that is a lot of interesting kind of facts and information too. I think that it's even interesting talking to you right now, because this is my first time meeting you, and I guess we all do this, right? Like we connect with you as an actor, and I anticipate that that is who you are. But I think that, you know, translating through camera and connecting with me is incredibly difficult thing to do. And for this to be your first lead acting role, I mean, wonderful job. I can't wait for you guys to see what she did.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Was it weird watching it back after everything was put together, the music and all that type of stuff? Like, how did you feel seeing yourself on camera?
Yes, I was nervous. I was nervous about it because it's a vulnerable space. But when I did see Devon Franklin, he let me see a piece of the first episode, like when I was on a break. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it looks so cool. Like I'm so excited to see more. And yeah, it was kind of a surreal moment, and it makes me more excited to you know, dive into these things and to make, especially with this show, because it can be controversial. So it's like, I love that though, because it's a good purpose in the show. Yeah. And so I can't wait for, you know, our faith believers and our non-believers and everybody to see this and to see what they take from it. I mean, I'm excited to see what Twitter has to say.
Yeah, me too. And I'm glad you said that. Just remember my question. So one of the things in the show is church hurt, right? And the black people, we have a relationship with church, including myself. Well, coming into this, like what kind of journey were you at in this? And what did this pull out of you?
Parallels. I'm telling you, me and Rebel were parallels without me even really knowing it at first. Reading the script, I was just like, oh my God, the script's good. Like it was sucking me in. But then when I did my first session with Kirk Franklin, I flew to Austin. He's in Austin, and we did the first song. Can anybody hear me? That song that plays in a funeral scene, and I broke down crying in the session. I needed like 45 minutes to get it together because I really felt those lyrics. And I was like, I was a little upset, a little bit, because I was like, why did you write this song that's like about my life? And but it was a beautiful moment. And in Kirk, he was like, just took me under his wing, and he has a calling on him, and he's sprinkled with that dust, you know, and he definitely pulled it all out of me and kind of helped me break those emotional barriers in the studio. So it's a whole thing. And I'm really with the character, there was a lot of parallels between how I feel or have felt before, and how she was dealing with her issues. So yeah.
I love it. Yes. And you touched on all these things I was thinking about as I was watching it. The music's beautiful. The drama's there, of course. So it's a lot of good things happening. But it was a very nice pleasure to meet you. Excellent job on the show. If you guys enjoyed this interview and you want more of Serayah, please check her out on BET Plus, Kingdom Business, where she plays Rebel, aka Chardonnay. And yeah, nice to meet you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. So nice to meet you.